Jonathan Karl.
Mr. President, you are 100 days into your second term. Congress has ignored your efforts to try to get them to undo these sequester cuts. Do you still have the juice to get the rest of your agenda through this Congress?
Well, if you put it that way, Jonathan, maybe I should just pack up and go home. Golly.
Hello and welcome to Politics Confidential. I'm Jonathan Karl, and I am joined by the man of the hour, Senator Ted Cruz. Was the showdown worth it?
Well, I mean, let's focus on what we got out of it. The deal last night was a terrible deal. The Washington establishment sold the American people down the river.
So you would do it again?
I would do anything, and I will continue to do anything I can to stop the train wreck that is Obamacare.
But I got to press you on this, because people hated this shutdown. They hated this impasse, and this was seen as the Ted Cruz shutdown. You, more than any single individual, were seen as the one that triggered this crisis to begin with.
John, I agree that a lot of D.C. politicians tried to call it that, and a lot of the media did too. But
talking about public opinion nationally.
Look, let me be very clear. I said throughout this, we shouldn't have a shutdown. I don't want a shutdown. I repeatedly voted to open the government.
But there never would have been a shutdown if you hadn't gone with this strategy of saying we're not even going to fund the government for 6 weeks
and you know
unless we can defund Obamacare.
You know what, John? There never would have been a shutdown if Harry Reid and President Obama hadn't said we will not compromise, we will not negotiate, shut the government down.
So is your dad going to run for president?
I think he's still assessing it.
Do you think it's more than 50%, less than 50%?
I think that it's more than likely that he's giving this a serious thought and moving forward.
More than likely that he'll run?
That he'll run. If you had asked me a few years back, I would have said it was less likely. It's more than likely that he's giving this a serious thought.
Especially after what Jeb Bush's own son revealed about the family plans.
George P., his son, his eldest son, over the weekend telling ABC that his father was more than likely that he's giving this serious thought.
Now reporting live from ABC News Election Night headquarters.
We got our chief White House correspondent John Karl here as well. The president pretty much invisible in those battleground states for the Senate.
Well, he didn't campaign there, but he was everywhere in the ads. The Republicans made this a campaign about President Obama because he goes into the election at his lowest approval rating of his presidency, and he was even more unpopular in virtually every one of the key states.
We have another result we want to talk about right now. This is a big one for Republicans. Their Republican leader, Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, defeated Allison Lundergan Grimes, the Democrat. John Karl, this is a man that President Obama may be forced to work with even more than he has in the past.
Very well could be the majority leader by the end of the night. And this is somebody the president has virtually no relationship with. You know, the president had developed a relationship with Speaker of the House John Boehner, but as minority leader, Mitch McConnell was somebody that almost never met one-on-one with the president. That will sure change.
John Karl, you're just coming in another governor's race?
Rick Snyder in Michigan, we're projecting as a winner as well. These were the two states that President Obama campaigned in for the gubernatorial candidates for the Democrats, and now Republicans have pulled them both off. Both purple states. Republicans will be feeling very good about this tonight.
Chief White House correspondent John Karl starts us off. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. This was a big, big day for Republicans. Not only did they win the Senate and a whole bunch of governor's races, Republicans also won their largest majority in the House since Herbert Hoover was president. Are you going to have that drink with Mitch McConnell now that you joked about at the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
You know, actually, I would enjoy having some Kentucky bourbon with Mitch McConnell. I don't know what his preferred drink is, but...
Now the president says he wants to share some Kentucky bourbon with the senator.
President Obama suggested he needs a stiff drink.
The president talked today about how he, wouldn't mind getting a glass of bourbon with Mitch McConnell.
I want to go back to exactly what the president said. He said you can bypass the website and apply by phone or in person, and then it can be done in 25 minutes. But these memos say that at the end of the day, we are all stuck in the same queue because they all have to go through the same portal.
John, I get it. But the person who calls isn't the one who continues to wait after the paper application is filled.
Right? Your mocking is entertaining, but the president said that you could apply within 25 minutes. That was not true.
But John, we have never said that that the process, the endpoint of the process wouldn't still have to go through healthcare.gov. So this is not...
Actually, that's not true, Jay. Look at your own words. On October 21st, the same day, you said you can enroll over the phone, you can enroll in person. On October 23rd, you said there are 4 ways to enroll in the exchanges. You didn't say they all have to go through healthcare.gov. You said there are 4 ways to enroll in exchanges.
You don't have to go through
in person,
healthcare.gov.
at local health centers, or by mail, or the website. You said there were 4 different ways. There's only one way, and all has to go through, as you just said, healthcare.gov.
I'm saying what I said and what everybody said, and again, you know, you can have this soliloquy by yourself, but the
No, I'm trying to understand why the president gave the American public the impression that they can apply, not impression, told people
they
that they
can
could
get on
apply
the phone
in 25
and
minutes.
call, and the paperwork is filled out for them, and the process is taken over from there. I'm not sure what you think you've discovered here, John, but I mean, if you're asking me,
when the president
yes,
said you can bypass the website, because you just said that it all has to go through the website. So which
John,
is it?
I think we've been through this.
You
Call, you have an experience with, you have a conversation with somebody in the call-in center, you give them your information, they process it for you, they bypass the creation of an account, which is where most of the bottlenecks were happening for users on the website. Eventually, that still has to go through healthcare.gov, but you've done the work with.
You didn't do the eventually part.
John, I give up.
John Karl.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been a tough year. You may not want to call it the worst year of your presidency, but it's clearly been a tough year. The polls have gone up and down, but they are at a low point right now. So what I'm asking you, you've acknowledged the difficulties with the healthcare rollout, but when you look back and you look at the decisions that you have made and what you did, what you didn't do, for you personally, what do you think has been your biggest mistake?
With respect to healthcare specifically or just generally?
The whole thing. Look back at this tough year. Mr. President, do you agree with John Brennan that the CIA's interrogation program saved lives?
We're talking about exports, John. Thank you.
Seems obvious. You're moving closer to running for president.
I've openly said in the past that it's something I'll consider at the end of this year. If I decide to run for president, I will not have some sort of exit strategy to run for the Senate.
So that will be a decision not to run for re-election.
I believe that if you want to be president of the United States, you run for president.
It's all or nothing.
You don't run for president with some eject button in the cockpit that allows you to go on an exit ramp if it doesn't work out.
Do you think you're ready to be president?
I do. I mean, but I think that's true for multiple other people that would want to run.
But you think you're ready, you think you're qualified, you think you have the experience to be president if you make that decision?
I do, but I think we have other people as well. I think, in essence, I think our party is blessed to have a number of people in that position. And the question is, whose vision is the one that our party wants to follow?